Mate, did we watch a thing this week?
Yeah, we did.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing. I'm Billy, and here's Topher. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well, thank you, sir. How are you?
I'm great. Do you know what we forgot to mention last week?
No.
It was our 2-year anniversary.
Ah, I had that thought during the week, actually.
Yeah, actually on the day we recorded.
Because I saw something about, hashtag release the Snyder Cut and
Yeah.
it being 2 years on, and I was like,
All right.
that was our first episode.
Yeah. So happy anniversary, buddy.
Release the Snyder Cut!
Do it!
Who knows? It could be even worse than what we got.
You know what? I suspect it is, which is exactly why it hasn't been released, because hype is better than another shitty movie.
Yeah. Let it live on in legend.
Yeah.
Like that 3.5-hour version of The Phantom Menace, which apparently is amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think the key to making The Phantom Menace better was to give us more of it.
Yeah, give me more politics. That's what I want. I want 80% more Jar Jar Binks and 125% more politics.
Jar Jar talking about the taxation of trade routes is what we want.
Jar Jar for Prime Minister. That's what we need.
Senator on the boat.
Yeah, of course. Yes. But we're not talking about
Representative Binks.
We're not talking about episode 1 this week. What are we talking about, my friend?
We're talking about an old-timey movie.
Yes, it was a throwback and it was my choice. You have had a habit of shitting on my choices.
You have had a habit of picking terrible films.
And I put the math together. I figured it out. I was like, okay, how do we pick a perfect film for Topher? And I came up with a simple science. I knew it had to be black and white because that's, you're artsy. I knew that it had to be foreign because you like reading.
Famously.
So I knew that if I combined those two things, I might have a winner on my hand. The only films of mine I've picked that you've given more than a 6 to, I think, have actually been Japanese films.
There you go.
So I went that route again, and I made you watch, which I can't believe you hadn't seen this already, Seven Samurai, Akira Kurosawa's masterpiece.
Yes, I doubled my Kurosawa intake
Yeah.
in one swoop. I'd only seen one Kurosawa film.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yojimbo.
Yep.
So, Seven Samurai is a 1954 Japanese epic samurai drama film, co-written, edited, and directed by Akira Kurosawa.
And what is this film you've picked about, Billy?
It's about 7 people who happen to be samurai. It's set during the feudal period in Japan. A group of farmers who are being attacked by plunderers decide to gather a group of samurai together to protect their village.
Mostly samurai. There's 5 samurais, there's a drunk guy, and like a Padawan.
So the film was originally 6 samurai, and then they decided that they need more interest, so that was when Kurosawa decided to add the drunk character.
Right. So I went to this film, I might have mentioned this. This film used to be on my to-watch list on Netflix, and then it just fell off Netflix. So I was like, all right, I'll rent it off Apple TV. Nope, not on there.
Jeez.
I went to that ubiquitous trader of DVDs that we have in this country.
Yeah.
Nah.
Good golly.
So in the end, I had to lean on someone to just bring me over
That's right.
a copy that I've got no doubt was secured through non-criminal means.
No. I bought my Criterion of this.
I'm sure you did.
Did you watch it with the commentary?
No, I was watching the movie.
I guess it is a bit long to watch twice.
You don't watch the commentary the first time you watch a film. And yeah, I didn't just have another 3.5 hours yesterday that I could be like, all right, well, done it once.
Yeah, long movie. What was the last movie you saw that had an intermission in it?
Okay, so Lawrence of Arabia has an intermission, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah. Have you ever seen Gone with the Wind?
No.
Me neither. No, I wonder if it's a hole that we're supposed to fill at some point, but it just doesn't
can't
look
bring
like it'll
myself
interest
to
me.
Care about
No,
Gone with the Wind.
I'm the same. I'm exactly the same.
I did fast forward the intermission, so it didn't take me quite the runtime to watch
So
it.
you didn't have the full experience.
I haven't had the full experience.
I just want to jump straight there because I just have to know, did you like this movie?
Yeah, I liked it. So you asked me last...
Yeah, I said, what are you are you expecting? And you said a 9.
When you dropped off the undoubtedly legal copy at my house, you said, where are your expectations? I said 9.
Yeah.
because it's fucking Seven Samurai.
Yeah.
I'm giving it less than a 9, Billy.
That's fucking crazy. I just don't understand you sometimes.
I like it.
The depths
the
depths of your racism know no bounds.
Hard to refute. I am the only person on earth that thinks that Seven Samurai is less than a 9.
All right.
Do you want to talk about the movie a bit?
Oh, I guess. Straight off the bat, I think this is such an exceptionally well-made film. I think the cinematography is gorgeous for the time.
Including the reframe in the very first shot? There's 2 reframes in the first shot.
You know this was before Steadicams.
I don't care, mate. It's 3... Okay. And I was like, okay, think of the time. And then I was like, wait. This is 3 years before Paths of Glory. Ordinarily, it's like, don't compare people to Kubrick, you're just asking to be disappointed. But Kurosawa, we are talking about 2 acknowledged masters of the craft here. So I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with it. And the movement in Paths of Glory is some way in front of the 2 reframes in the first shot.
Interestingly, though, I don't know if this was the first time, but it was one of the first times that a movie was made with multiple cameras.
It was definitely the first time he had done it.
Yeah, and it was pretty early on. So I believe it was 3 or 4 cameras for particularly the battle scenes, if not most of the movie.
Because did it go 4 times over budget?
Yeah.
Like they shut it down.
Toho shut it down twice. And both times, do you know what Kurosawa did? He went fishing. Someone asked him once, they were like, aren't you anxious or worried? He's like, no. They've sunk so much money already. They're going to let me finish it. He was not fazed at all.
What a boss move.
Yeah.
Okay, but other than the 2 reframes in the first or second shot, let me say something really good about the beginning of the film. One of the good things about that first little conversation that the bandits have, when someone's like, all right, let's go kill these fools and steal their shit. Yeah. And another guy says, no, give it time. Let's come back when the barley's ripe. And 2 things good about that. It sets up, we've learned a bit about the village before we've even been to the village. Yeah. And it tells us that these aren't just mindless murderers, or at least they're not all mindless murderers. One of them's like, dude, if we do it now, we get nothing out of this. Calm your farm.
Yeah, there's some good strategy that you
Let's come back and plunder when there's actually some shit to plunder.
Yeah. And I think that carries throughout the whole film. I have to say, I don't know how you feel about it, but for a movie that's 3 hours 45, including the intermission, I do feel like this is a pretty fast-moving film, and there's not a lot of dead weight. Like, you think about some movies that are only 2 hours long that need a deep edit. I would struggle trying to cut this movie down, I think, because there's very little wasted dialogue. There's very little wasted action. It's a really, really tight, clever script, I think.
Yeah, I was surprised when the first time I looked at the clock, it was already more than 50 minutes in. And I was surprised by that. And I think that the last, probably after intermission, I think that flies by.
Yeah.
It's probably the middle. You said there's nothing you'd cut.
Yeah.
There is stuff I would cut in the middle.
Okay. So after the team is formed, but before the big battle takes place, when they first arrive at the village, that kind of scene.
Yep.
Okay. I know what you're talking about, and I can understand. Like, for example, would you cut the relationship?
I would cut the shit out of that relationship. Okay. I do not care.
That's fair, I guess. You're not a romantic.
No.
So,
The movie's called Seven Samurai. I don't care.
And that kid's not even technically a samurai. He's like a trainee.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the fucking work experience kid of the samurai.
Let's jump, while we're talking about characters, plot, screenplay, let's jump directly to the samurai, of which there are roughly 7.
Give or take.
I love the characterization in this film. I think it's so clever that they are each unique, and yet, as I said, when you talk about time wasted, for most of them, you don't even get a backstory. Some of them barely even have any dialogue, and yet they're all distinguishable, which, can be tricky in a black and white movie where you don't have, for example, costumes to really differentiate people, and you're like, okay, that's that guy, that's that guy. That can be really tricky in a film like this. But you always know exactly who's who, and I think it's a real testament to the filmmaking.
I would say there's a few of them. There's probably 3 of them that are my kind of, who's Biffa, who's Boffa in The Hobbit. There's 3 of them that are, for me, are probably kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
7's a lot.
7 is a lot.
And it's not like they're the only characters in the film.
No.
There are a couple of them in particular. The kind of the leader of the gang.
Oh, he's the best actor in the film too. He's fantastic.
Can be.
Yeah.
Played by Takesha Shimura. Brilliant.
He's outstanding.
Brilliant. And I really like that one of the other samurai, Kyuzo, I think it is, who probably for 2.5 hours, we know very little about.
Yeah.
And then he just he says fuck all during the film. But this is a character that just comes to life through his actions when shit gets real.
Yeah.
And those 2, they're my 2 favorite performances in the film.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
I really like those 2. I do think it's interesting the first time we meet Toshiro Mifune's character, which is also essentially when we meet the leader of the gang.
Yeah.
And there's something different about Mifune.
Yeah.
It's like you've been watching this film for, at this point, maybe 45 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, that's a movie star.
Yeah, he's fantastic. Fun fact, he was actually originally cast as the leader of the gang. And then it was when they decided to add this drunk character that they gave that to him. And he actually improvised a lot of his performance. They just said, just go ahead and give us this character. And that's exactly what he did. And I agree with you. He's fantastic.
So I'm a bit torn on his performance. There's a lot of it that I really like. There's times where I'm like, okay, I've actually kind of had enough of the maniacal laughing.
Yeah.
right now. But
that
when
happens a lot to the villagers. You get a bit sick of the screaming. They scream just about every line of dialogue they have.
But when Mifune is being sad and angry, I'm really into it. That rant he goes on.
Oh, it's brilliant, isn't it?
Of what the fuck do you expect from these people?
From farmers, yeah.
Fucking great scene.
Yeah.
The only problem with it is that he's like, you come in, you do this shit, you accost their women. The next scene, he's harassing a woman who's trying to harvest the crops, and mere seconds, film time, after saying, what do you expect after you come in and you do this, you do that, you do this to their women? He's like, hey, put your tools down, baby. Come on, man. Be better than that. One of the other samurai says to him at one point, why are you always shouting? And I was like, right?
Yeah. That's a great moment when they say that. Yeah.
Because I'd kind of had enough of it at that point.
I do love the young kind of intern samurai, and especially the relationship that he has with Camby. Those earlier scenes where they're recruiting and he's getting them to hit the samurai over the head, it just adds such a little fun element to the film.
Geez, Manzo's a dick.
Yeah.
Maybe explain to your daughter why you want her to cut her hair rather than just
creepily chasing her around.
Chasing her around with a blade. Yeah. Fucking hell, Manzo.
It's not good. He's a bad egg.
Yeah. Elsewhere, the village elder, who I love.
Yes.
The first time we see him, and I was a little under the weather watching this film.
You can say it. You were hungover.
The way that his kind of mouth was and one of his eyes were, I was like, I feel ya. I feel ya. You're not old. You're just hungover.
But that scene where you first see him, I think that's fantastically shot. It's kind of a precursor to the opening scene of The Godfather, where you've got him just sitting in the darkness and the beautiful lighting across his face. I think it's so well done.
This middle section that is for me the drag on the film.
Yeah.
Let me unpack that a bit for you. I think it's great and completely necessary that the 7 samurai build more of a connection with this village than just come here, we'll feed you, fight for us. That's great. But 2 things. Not all of the little vignettes work for me as individual scenes. And they don't fit together that well.
Wow, that is such a different view to what... Because to me, as I said earlier when I talked about the runtime flying by, I feel like this film is so cohesive. For a film that's in 2 very kind of distinct parts, I feel like it is one very cohesive story. Even when you used the word vignettes, I was almost confused for a second because I was like, I don't think of any of these scenes as what I would call vignettes. They're all so related. So what is it exactly that you would chop?
All of the relationship.
Okay.
Seriously.
So that just doesn't land for you.
It doesn't at all.
Which is the same way you felt about Titanic, another 3-hour film.
Well, yes, that's true. Yeah, I don't care.
Okay.
I don't care. Then look, straight away I've got this down to a less than 3-hour film.
You think that the relationship makes up more than half an hour?
No, it probably doesn't.
You're dreaming. I reckon it's like 20 minutes. It's tight.
20 too long, my friend. Doesn't our good friend Padawan Samurai worst poker face on earth when he walks out of that barn or whatever and Manzo's there and he's just been on the job with Manzo's daughter. Like, you could try something like saying loudly, "Oh, hey, Manzo, are you looking for Shino? I was just in there and she's not in there." Instead of rooted to the ground, looking very obviously like you just shagged this guy's daughter.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you've had sex, you know how hard it is not to shout it from the rooftop afterwards. Like, you can see it in his eyes that he's trying to contain it because he wants to just go give this guy a high five and be like, "Yo, dog, guess what just happened?" But it's her dad, so he's got to play it a little bit chill. Like, you've been there.
But he just lets her walk out.
Yeah.
Dude.
He's shell-shocked. He just had sex.
He is shell-shocked.
It might have even been his first time ever. You know that you can't talk.
I'm sure it was.
You know that you can't talk for like 25 minutes after you have sex for the first time.
I'll let you know.
I'm telling. First, you got to lose the bowl cut. Then maybe it'll happen.
Watch The King and then tell me that bowl cuts are not the best.
Can we talk score? You don't always notice the score. I'm sure that you had to notice how brilliant this score is and also how brilliant its use is. Like, there are so many moments where in a more modern film, for example, you might have score, but here they just leave silence. And yet the moments they choose to use score, it's so driving. And did you enjoy it?
I did notice the score. You are correct. There's some good atmospheric stuff going on with it. I don't know what the name is of that Japanese drum, but I like it.
Yeah, it's cool, isn't it?
It's the first thing we hear in the film, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Yeah. Unless you're like me and you accidentally start the film with the commentary and you're like, what's happening?
So one thing I like is the kind of the little tiny backstory we get of Crazy Samurai with the fact that when he was a small child, this happened to him. I liked that detail. I do wonder if I would have enjoyed that more if there was a hint of that. Maybe there isn't, I missed it, who knows. If there was a hint of that beforehand so he didn't have to explain it while he's holding the baby.
Okay.
I think I would have preferred it if I'd seen him with this baby toddler, I can't exactly remember.
Yeah.
And if nothing needed to be said, it just triggered something in him and the audience, are like, well, yeah, of course. Rather than him going, like literally holding them going, "This was me."
I get it. I get what you're saying. I definitely understand.
Let me say something that I love about the battle in this. Okay, so you're aware of my dislike of stakes in a film that are so high that they're actually meaningless.
Yes.
Like, the world's going to end.
Yes.
Well, of course the world's not going to end.
Yes.
There's a point when the battle's been going on in this film for quite some time, and we get to a point where they say there's 13 left.
Yes.
We started with 40 enemies. We're down to 13.
Yeah.
Saying 13 left in a Marvel film, no worries. We'll just pick them off. They're faceless. They're kind of faceless enemies, as would happen in a comic book film.
Yeah.
But we know that there's been a cost to fighting these people already. We're already down a couple of samurai at this point. And when our leader says there's 13 left, look, we think we're going to win, to be sure.
Yeah.
But we don't know who will be left at the end.
No, that's right. We don't know exactly what the cost of life will be. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about the film is that it's a very small scale. Like, I mean, you protecting farmers. I'm like, it's only farmers. Who cares? But I agree. And by the end, when you're down 4 samurai at the end of the film, it's, and they're just doing it really, as he says at the start of the film, Camby, they're really just doing it for the thrill of the fight at this point. They're not really getting paid. Like, they just love being samurai.
Yeah, they're just getting some rice and millet. I had to Google what millet was. Turns out it's a grain.
Yeah.
I had no idea. But, yeah, so this obviously the battle takes up a big chunk of the second half of the film.
But it's in sections. It's not like one giant continuous battle. It's over a series of days.
It is itself episodic.
Yes.
And you mentioned it earlier. Obviously, we're in an age before Steadicams and this kind of thing. The staging of it is fucking masterful.
It is. He actually built an entire village. They wanted him to do it in a soundstage, and he wanted it to be as realistic as possible. So he built this village as it would have been in the 1500s Japan. That's next level. That's insane. It shows that it was worth doing because it looks so good.
And then you've got these 3 fixed cameras.
Yeah.
It's like, plan it out, roll.
Yeah.
Hope this works.
Well, and that's one of the great things about using multiple cameras is that the continuity issues almost vanish. So it's not like I'm sure the fight was still extremely choreographed, but it doesn't look so hokey like a lot of fights did back then, because back then it almost did look more like a dance when you filmed fight scenes, whereas this, I think they were a little bit more free to play with it a bit more while shooting, and it really, really looks great.
And you never lost. You always know where you are, what's going on, who's there.
Yeah.
They do keep sensational track of what's happening without it being in your face or particularly explaining it.
Now, this is the first film ever it basically created the trope of putting a team together, which now we see in just about every second film starts with putting a team together. And I really love that whole sequence. I think it's done almost to perfection in this film.
So the greatest gift of this film is that without it, we wouldn't have got Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Fast and Furious, Ocean's 11, any of those, the Avengers. And the amount of remakes we've seen of this film are staggering. Apart from The Magnificent Seven, probably its best adaptation, A Bug's Life.
I don't remember anything about Bug's Life.
It's Seven Samurai. It's great. Well, it's like Seven Samurai meets Three Amigos. It's the same basic thing. This village of ants. Wait, are they ants or are they grasshoppers? Anyway, they're being threatened by a bigger bug.
I think they were ants in ants.
I think they were ants in both.
Okay.
I think that's why there was controversy that they came out the same year.
Which one was Stallone in? He was ants, right?
No, I think he was a Bug's Life.
Okay.
Woody Allen was in Ants.
I can't remember.
Anyway, there are these ants that are being threatened by these grasshoppers. That's it. And so they go and try get together people to protect them, but they get circus bugs. So it's like Seven Samurai meets Three Amigos. It's cool. It's worth watching.
Classic grasshopper behavior.
Dicks.
One thing with Seven Samurai that I think is a real shame, and it's not its fault at all, that the film was made right at that tipping point of filmmakers going, you know what, Academy format? You've served us well, but actually we think we can do more with this wider canvas.
Yeah.
Because I think this film is just screaming out to be, and like 3 years later when he's making Hidden Fortress, he's switched to CinemaScope at this point and doesn't look back. And I just think this film would eat up a wider format.
I agree, yeah. And so we both obviously watched the Criterion edition on Blu-ray, which is the director's cut. When it got released in the States, it was over half an hour shorter, which maybe that's the cut you would have preferred to watch. But it looks beautiful in restored, full HD. I would love to see this film get colorized, like frame by frame colorized. I know some people are really against colorization, but I think if Kurosawa had his way, I don't think he would have chosen to make this black and white. That was just of the time. I do wonder if he was limited in the aspect by the lenses he was using. I did read that it was one of the first films to use very long focal length lenses.
I suppose it makes sense because mostly films, you don't need telephoto lenses in a studio.
Yeah. So it was one of the first films. Apparently they were really rare at the time, and that's part of why the budget went so over.
Right.
Because 3 cameras running telephoto lenses in 54.
One thing completely off topic, but I've brought up Kubrick once, I'll do it again. It's just like YouTube it or something, the story of what Kubrick did to the cameras and lenses he wanted to get the look he needed for Barry Lyndon. Just do it.
Okay, I will.
It's so great.
Okay.
If you're any kind of lens nerd, this is the greatest shit.
See, I love this movie. I loved it since I first saw it as quite a young kid. This is one of the reasons I love, in particular, Eastern cinema. Yeah, I caught this back on SBS back in the day when, as a kid, you'd stay up late watching movies on SBS. You know,
what were you looking for?
In the hopes that you'd maybe see a boob. But out of it, I got a love of foreign cinema, and I think this is truly one of the best. I think it's so amazing. And for me, it's a 10 out of 10. I think this is better than The Godfather. For me, this is the peak of what cinema can be.
Look, I love a lot about this film.
Yeah.
And like, I'm talking big chunks here. But with what for me was kind of the anchor of the middle section.
Yeah.
I totally like it, but I do just like it. 7.
I'm a bit taken aback by 7. Do you think you went in with too high expectations because you came to it so late?
Maybe.
I guess I'll have to keep trying. I mean, of the list I sent you, this was the top of this was the most critically acclaimed one of my list of possible throwbacks. So we can only really go down from here.
Like, I know that there's friends that are disowning me right now.
Well, I think the second highest critically acclaimed film on my list is another Japanese movie. I think it's Grave of the Fireflies is next. So who knows? Maybe that'll be my next pick. I think our next throwback is actually our Christmas special, which you still need to choose what we're watching.
Yeah, right.
Alrighty. What are we getting to next week, buddy?
Back to the movies next week.
Yes.
For Rian Johnson's latest Knives Out.
Yes. Which we're both very lucky we got to an advanced screening thanks to Dendy Cinemas, which we're going to record that right now, aren't we? So patrons will be able to listen to that right this second.
And they'll have nothing to do next week.
Well, that's all right. We'll put out another bonus episode.
A what?
Did I say bonus? We'll put out another bonus episode.
Great.
All right. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle @wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and we'll catch you next week.
Go watch a movie.
Make it 7 Samurai. Go watch 7 Samurai.
Yeah, do it. It's good.
I'm going to start again. I don't know how do we do this?
To get her cropping done.
Yeah.
What's the term? What the farmers do?
Oh, geez, now you've got me. Now you've
harvest.
Yes, harvest. They're harvesting. I've played Animal Farm. Not Animal Farm. Farmville. I've read Animal.
The socialist agenda.
I'm telling you, first you got to lose the bowl cut. Then maybe it'll happen.
Watch The King and then tell me that bowl cuts are not the best.